On today's episode of the Mark Titus Show, just as everyone predicted, Lonnie Walker IV has led the Los Angeles Lakers to a 3-1 series lead over the Warriors. What a game. We just got done watching Lonnie Walker go bananas in the fourth quarter. It felt like the Warriors were, I wouldn't say destined to pull out a win, but it just felt like the basketball gods knew that this was going to be an awesome series. And you know, it felt like the best way to write the script would be to have Steph Curry play out of his mind and lead Golden State to a win to tie the series and take it back to Golden State's home court. That seemed to be what the script called for most of this game. And then Lonnie Walker showed up in the fourth quarter and said, watch this. Who had this on their scouting report and played the fourth quarter of his life. And now the Lakers are up 3-1, which should be a comfortable lead, but wouldn't that be something if LeBron and company now squandered the 3-1 lead against the Warriors? I don't know. We'll see. But the Lakers go up 3-1, which I certainly did not see coming. I mean, I'm not exactly shocked that the Lakers are, if they do in fact finish this off in advance, that would not be a shock. But I just assumed the Warriors would get it done tonight, and they did not. And very, very bizarre decisions down the stretch from the Warriors. Championship DNA back on the fraud power rankings, perhaps. Meanwhile, the James Harden roller coaster is back on top after another brilliant performance in Game 4. Dare I say, a season-saving performance. 42 points, 9 assists, 8 rebounds, hit the game winner. Embiid looked shook down the stretch with Horford on him. Sixers tied it up 2-2. The Celtics have looked like the better team this entire series, but yet you look up and the series is tied going back to Boston. That one's been a ton of fun. Will Devin Booker simply never miss shots? Never miss another shot in his life? The answer may surprise you. This man is on a historic tear right now. The Suns tied it up against the Nuggets as well. The Heat have a stranglehold on the Knicks, but I'll say it, the series doesn't have the juice I was hoping for, and that's okay. Sometimes that happens, but I can't get myself into the Heat Knicks. I don't know. Maybe it's a me problem, but it just feels like the Heat are definitely better, and Jimmy Butler is just, yeah, I don't know. I've tried, but Julius Randle in the post-game press conference saying, I think they want it more than us. It's not a great sign for the Knicks coming back from down 3-1. And finally, we have Sam Vecenie on the show. Sam writes for The Athletic, does the Game Theory podcast, and he came on to talk about Bronny to USC, the college basketball freshman class in general that's coming in. The draft combine is next week. The lottery is next week. Sam is just on top of the prospects. He's on top of all these guys, and he's also just a great friend of mine. And I love talking to him on whatever forum he and I can talk, whether it's on air like we're going to do on this show, or whether it's in some dive bar in Los Angeles, just throwing a few back talking ball. He's a great guest, and I can't recommend his podcast enough. So that's a ton of fun. Can't wait to share the Sam Vecenie interview with you. But we're gonna talk a little NBA before that. All that coming up. Let's rock and roll. All right, some quick NBA thoughts before we get to Sam Vecenie. Just got done watching the Lakers, like I said, go up 3-1 on the Warriors. It felt like the Warriors. So first of all, the so far in the series, it has been an Anthony Davis series. In a lot of ways, similarly to what the Sixers series has become, where it's like James Harden plays out of his mind, the Sixers win. When James Harden disappears, the Sixers lose. That's kind of how I felt with the Lakers, where it's like Anthony Davis is playing otherworldly. He's the best defender on the planet right now. And when he brings his A game, the Lakers are better than the Warriors, but the problem with Anthony Davis this year and forever has been like how often can you depend on his A game? And so the Lakers going up 2-1 on the back of basically Anthony Davis playing out of his mind throughout this series has been a pleasant surprise for a guy that enjoys watching good basketball. Watching Anthony Davis bring it consistently has been awesome. But like I said at the top, like you watch enough basketball, you think you get a feel for what's the ebbs and flows of a series. You think you understand like what's going to come, and I mean, it made total sense to me that the Lakers won Game 3. I felt like the Lakers coming back to LA. Again, if I was writing the script, it's like, yeah, you come back to home crowd, everything's buzzing. You still won in Golden State. Them coming back and winning Game 3 felt right, quote unquote. But then in my script, if you looked at my notes that I had the Warriors winning Game 4. That seems to be what the Warriors had as well. They had an Anthony Davis problem like we saw in Game 1, where Anthony Davis defensively is just clogging up, like was blocking every shot in Game 1, was a menace defensively. So finally we get to game 4. The Warriors have their backs against the wall ish. And from the start, this was the as Stan Van Gundy was pointing out all night, this was the Steph Curry pick and roll game to bring Anthony Davis away from the basket, to the point that it felt like Steve Kerr's just on the sideline doing Herb Brooks from Miracle, just yelling again. Very monotonous, very just like running the same shit over and over. And the reason they're doing that is because it's working. This was a night that Steph Curry played out of his mind, if we're being completely honest. We could talk about the end of the game in a second because he made some boneheaded plays down the stretch, but I think that was out of a feeling of necessity for him. But Steph is a guy who gets labeled a point guard, and sometimes I scoff at that because he's a traditional shoot. I mean, he is a shooting guard in my eyes. Like when I watch Steph Curry play, I'm like, this is a man who's a shooting guard, but he can put the ball on the floor. Tonight he was a point guard. Tonight he was very clearly a point guard. This was one of the better point guard games I've ever seen him play, which is to say that he's like running the offense, getting everybody involved, was making insane passes. This was the best passing night I've ever seen from Steph Curry, but also I'm a dumbass that gets very I'm very prisoner of the moment with this stuff. I will happily admit that, but I can't remember a time where Steph Curry was dropping dimes like he was tonight, just consistently over and over and over, which made it interesting because ultimately at the end of the game, it's interesting that against the Kings he had that moment in game 4 where he called timeout and they had no timeouts, and it's interesting that tonight he had the passing game of his life because in the end the game ends with Steph Curry having the ball in his hands, making the dumbest pass ever where he throws it over his head out of bounds to nobody, while at the same time the Warriors had a timeout that he could have called and chose not to. But against the Kings in game 4 he called a timeout that they didn't have. Very, very confusing. Very confusing what Klay is doing down the stretch, throwing up just insane shots. This is why, TJ, when Jordan Poole had the one shot in game 1, that was game 1, right? God, that feels like a month ago. Obviously you would have loved him to be a little closer. You would maybe love Steph or Klay to take that shot. But that's why I said in the moment, I was like, I don't think that's the worst shot in the world. Because that's like how the Warriors play. And now you're seeing like Steph and Klay were taking just absurd shots down this. And I get it. There's Steph and Klay. He's Jordan Poole. He's not on their level. But I mean, the second shot that Steph tried to shoot over Anthony Davis was, it was bananas. And if Jordan Poole shot that, he would be cut from the team immediately. And yes, I know it's Steph Curry. We've seen him make the shot many times over. It just felt so panicky and so like it felt kind of, for lack of a word that comes to mind, probably too aggressive, but it felt a little entitled. It's like, I am Steph Curry. I will make this. I'm playing well, so this will go in because I'm entitled to make this shot. And it's like, dude, what are we doing here? It just bizarre stuff out of the Warriors down the stretch. It really did just feel like they thought they had it in the bag. They thought that like the basketball gods were going to bless them in the same way that I did watching along, where I was like, yeah, this is going to be 2-2 going back to San Francisco, and we're going to get a 7-game series, and this is going to be awesome. Really, really shit the bed down the stretch because I thought the Warriors played a better basketball for most of this game. But unfortunately, Lonnie Walker showed up in a big way. I got to say, though, Van Gundy, I was almost taking it personally the way Van Gundy and Brian Anderson were talking about how Lonnie Walker used his garbage time to showcase how good he was. The line that SVG used was, "There's no such thing as garbage time, only garbage players." I took that personally, TJ, as a walk-on that only played garbage time, and as a guy who never got I would go in at the end of these games and I'm dropping. I had one game where I dropped 2 assists. I'm throwing oops, I'm pump faking, hitting threes. Never led to anything. So I'm thinking to myself, is Stan Van Gundy just calling me a garbage player? I think he is. I don't know. I took that the wrong way. As on behalf of walk-ons everywhere, we're already having a rough stretch, TJ, with Matt Ishbia getting into it with Jokic. The bench warmers, the garbage time guys already have that to deal with. And then Stan Van Gundy comes at our neck by saying, "There's no such thing as garbage time, only garbage players."
Every minute matters. Every minute counts.
Stan, yes, I am a garbage player. I understand. I'm okay with that. No, I don't. I mean, it's obviously the Lakers series to lose now at this point. I again, if I'm writing the script, you expect the Warriors to take care of business on their home court, and then Game 6 becomes kind of the pivotal game. It is fascinating how ever since that Warriors Cavs finals, It wasn't the first time we had ever seen a 3-1 deficit squandered.
Right.
But boy, that was the one that like really busted it open to me, where it's like, okay, so no 3-1 lead is possible. Because if a 73-win team who is up 3-1 and has home court advantage, where the Warriors that year had of the final 3 games, 2 were in it was Oakland at the time. If they can blow the 3-1 lead, then surely at this point anybody can. So yeah, like I'm not cheering for the Warriors to necessarily win the series. I just like I don't know. I found myself watching this game. I was like, damn, that kind of sucks, because I was hoping for like a 7-game series, but now I don't know. The Warriors still, all you have to do is win 1 game in Los Angeles. It just these are the games that'll drive you crazy though. If you're on the Warriors, if you're Steve Kerr, where you feel like you played better on the road than the other team, and you let it slip away. If there is one franchise, one core group of guys that you trust to figure it out when their backs are against the wall, when they're down 3-1. It is these Golden State Warriors. It's just, as I've talked about with LeBron before, as I've talked that like this is a common theme in basketball, is this idea that we'll just flip the switch when the time is right, and sometimes you go to flip that switch and nothing happens. I don't know. I expect the Warriors to take care of business in Game 5, and Game 6 is going to be an absolute grinder. That's going to be so fun. That's what I hope. I hope so.
Yeah, it almost like the series definitely isn't over. But that 3-1 comeback is the definitive 3-1, so it would be righteous if the NBA writers gave us a Steph Curry redemption arc for that. There's been like generations of Steph Curry, and I don't think one sleeve arm shirt Steph Curry is that guy.
I don't love it. I don't love it.
He just didn't like. I'm watching back the last 30 seconds of the game, and it just seemed like they didn't even drop a play. They're just like, oh, Steph will take care of it. Like, let him one-on-one Anthony Davis at the top, like at the 3-point line for some reason, and we'll figure it out because he's Steph Curry in the playoffs. I don't think one arm shirt Steph Curry is that type of Steph Curry.
No, you're right. It is. That did seem to be the Warriors' attitude. It's like, we're fine. We will do what we do every time in these situations.
Yeah. And that's who you generally want to take that shot. But I don't know
I was fine with the first one. I didn't hate. I mean, I don't hate the second one because he is Steph, you know. And I've seen him hit that shot a million times. It was just like a little panicky and a little, like I said, like like a little too much playing into the moment and saying, like, it felt like he played into the Lakers' trap. The Lakers, Anthony Davis was, I wouldn't say he was getting cooked on these screen and rolls when he gets pulled out from the basket, because you know, he gets stuck in no man's land a lot, and just trying to figure out like what the Lakers are trying to do defensively, because they don't want AD to commit too far out. And you know, it's like throughout the game as they keep going to these pick and rolls to pull AD away from the basket. It's not exactly an indictment on Anthony Davis to where you're saying like, man, he didn't bring it tonight defensively or whatever. But yeah, that was kind of the focal point, was that they were going at AD, they were bringing him out from the basket. And I think it sort of played into the Lakers' trap. The Warriors played into the Lakers' trap on those final possessions, where Steph has AD one-on-one, and in his head he's like, "This is what I've been doing all game: is pulling him away from the basket and then making plays. So I'm gonna just spray this on his face," forgetting that Anthony Davis is an insane defender, and his length is his reach and his ability to close out on these shots. And he didn't block the shot, but Steph probably rushed it a little bit. How could you not with Anthony Davis closing out? I didn't love it. It felt very panicky, and it felt very like, again, like Steph had read the script before the game and was like, oh yeah, so the script says I'm going to hit the big shot. I'm going to do the go to sleep thing I do when I hit big shots, and I'm going to wave, and Draymond's going to wave at the LA crowd, and we're going to go back to San Francisco and win and go up 3-2. And you know, like that just felt like it felt that sense of entitlement. And that's what I didn't love it. Like, the Lakers are a good team. The Lakers can win the title. Obviously, when you get performances like this from Lonnie Walker, and you know, Reaves hasn't been great, but he was hitting some shots that there for stretches. And D'Angelo Russell had a great game in Game 3. Didn't really do much tonight. LeBron, I don't know how this man does this. I swear to God, if you would have blindfolded me with like 5 minutes left in the game, or covered the stat, whatever you have to do, just like ask me, how many points does LeBron James have? How many rebounds? How many assists? I would have been like, man, he's not playing well at all. I think LeBron has probably like 13 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists. What did he end up with? And you're like, oh, he had 27 and 10. And I don't know how this man does this night in and night out, where it feels like he doesn't have the full LeBron grasp on the game like you're used to vintage LeBron having, and yet he's still stuffing the stat sheet. He's still in total control of the game on a cerebral level. It's I don't know. I as a basketball fan, I certainly hope the Warriors take care of business in Game 5, and I expect them to. But I'm a little bummed that it's not going back 2-2, because that would almost certainly guarantee to me that we're going 7. And now I'm worried that the Lakers are it's going to be a ho-hum situation. I don't know. We'll see. But
I'm worried. I don't think enough people are worried about the potential of these Game 7s all falling on Mother's Day, and all of us having to be bad people, bad sons, and not pay attention to our moms. Yeah. Sorry, Mom. There's 3 Game 7s on Mother's Day.
Yeah, that's a great point, TJ. Let's get ahead. Yeah, this is a PSA for everybody. FYI, we might be looking at 3 Game 7s on Mother's Day, so plan accordingly. Thankfully, my mom lives like 3,000 miles away from me, so I'm not like expected to stop by her house for afternoon dinner or whatever it is you do on Mother's Day. It's been a while, I forget. But
afternoon dinner.
Afternoon dinner. That's a thing where you have like dinner at like 4:30 p.m. right?
Yeah. Like
a late afternoon dinner, like you on a Sunday afternoon. Anyway, shout out Lonnie Walker. Shout out Steph was still great. I mean, Steph, like I said, he took some of these dumb shots and made some boneheaded plays down the stretch, because I do think there was sort of a sense of I have to do everything tonight. Didn't get a ton of help. Clay is not himself at all, and maybe I don't know. I don't want to overreact, but because this happens with Draymond too. Like Draymond will have a bad game, and I'm like, Draymond's cooked. He's done. Get him out of here. Trade him immediately. And then Draymond's been playing pretty well. Yeah, I don't know. You can't count the Warriors out. You can't count the Lakers out. That's why I want it to be a fun series. But I have the gene that overreacts, TJ, to games. So I see the Lakers up 3-1. I see them win a game they probably shouldn't have won tonight. And I'm like, oh, we're done. The series is done. Damn it.
Yeah.
It's already done. And God, I hope I'm wrong, but that's how I feel about it. I also, though, good news, I felt like the Nuggets-Suns series was kind of done, because I thought, and it remains true to me, like I think the Nuggets are pretty clearly the better basketball team. It's just Devin Booker will not miss. Devin Booker is, in the last 2 games, in Game 3 and 4, 34 for 43. This is not a typo. I checked it 5 times. He's shooting 79% in the last 2 games the Suns played. And the shots he was taking and making against the Nuggets were just absolutely absurd, to the point that I really thought about this, and I believe, TJ, that if you took half of the NBA, if you took the entire NBA and you made them all shoot the exact same shots that Devin Booker has made the last 2 games, but there's no defense on them, and you just say do all the exact same shots, just this time you don't have a hand in your face in certain instances, and you don't have to, worry about stepping back on, to create separation on a guy, but you're going to take all the exact same shots Devin Booker took. I don't think half of the NBA could shoot 79%. Hell, it might even be more than half the NBA. Like, the fact that this man's doing this against defense, and granted, the Nuggets are not a defensive-minded team. I understand that. They're not the greatest defense the NBA has ever seen. But this man is, like, single-handedly willing the Suns to win, to where my takeaways from all the games is the same sort of thing, where it's like I do feel like the Nuggets are, in my mind, pretty clearly a better team. They're deeper. They have more weapons. They're more balanced. And yet Devin Booker is playing on a completely different level right now, to where it doesn't matter. And he's carried the Suns to 2 wins. I still expect the Nuggets to win this series, but boy, he's made that series interesting as well. I don't know. That's everyone wants to talk about Jokic and Matt Ishbia, but shout out Devin Booker for just refusing to miss shots.
I feel like Jokic and Ishbia getting into it is like finally drawing some mainstream attention towards that series, because I think for the larger part, like the other 3 series are vastly overshadowing what, as we've talked about, might have the best team playing in the Nuggets Sun series, whichever one of those teams comes out on top. Like, but yeah, all it took was Jokic shoving a team owner for people to start watching.
What a stupid non-story. Like the second it happened, it was like this shit. I didn't understand why Jokic got a technical. I didn't understand why he got fined. I didn't understand. It was just like like if Ishbia is literally any other person other than the Suns owner, he probably gets tossed from the game. But also, I'm not like pretending like Ishbia was definitely in the wrong. Like it was like egregiously bad what he did. He was just holding on to the ball. It was just like a completely stupid non-story that got blown up, I think, in part because it was owner versus player. The video of Ishbia flopping is preposterous. But number 3, and I'm gonna call out myself and basketball fans everywhere because I truly believe this, TJ. I think people are foaming at the mouth for another Malice in the Palace type deal. Like I think people pretend like that was like one of the darkest moments in NBA history, but deep down I think people loved it. I think people love that they like where they were when they remember where they were. They remember all the moments. They love like the behind the scenes stories of like Ron Artest walking into the locker room and asking Steven Jackson, "Do you think we'll get suspended at all?" And Steven Jackson was like, "Are you serious, dude?" I think people romanticize that to the point that anytime there's like a little fracas between the fans and the players, people go nuts and they love it. I think people secretly love it. I think people deep down love the drama, and I think that's why this got blown up is because everyone's like very quick to be like, "Oh my God, oh, is it happening? Is it happening? Is he in the crowd? Is he?" And I think everyone just kind of got a little too excited in this one because all that really happened was. Yeah, Jokic just like didn't even really push him, put his forearm up. Meanwhile, the total chud of a Suns fan just comes and like slaps Jokic on the arm, and that was the closest we got to a fight. And if you like read headlines about this thing, you would have thought it was like a benches clearing brawl that spilled into the crowd. I don't know, it was a non-story to me. It was like very stupid, and even people talking about Jokic possibly getting suspended that night, like we'll see what the NBA decides. I'm like, what are we going to say? Like they're definitely not going to suspend him, nor should they. This is stupid. Why are we doing this? Why are we pretending like this is a story?
Yeah, he should be in jail. I mean, he committed assault on a fan, a fan of any sort, but it was also happened to be the owner of the other team. That's targeted assault.
I'll say this: how come at my job, if I was to walk, into the break room and I was to take a forearm and push Sally from accounts receivable with my forearm and she fell down, I would certainly be fired. So why does Nikola Jokic continue to have a job? That doesn't make any sense.
He should probably be fired from basketball.
What else? Sixers tied up 2-2. Horrendous officiating down the stretch. Shout out to the Zebras. They did all they could to hand it to Boston, but James Harden said not so fast. Yeah, that was going to be an all-time frustrating loss for the Sixers if that the Smart's drawn charge on Embiid was horrendous. They reviewed it and still got it wrong. Tatum's push off on Maxey doesn't get called was horrendous. They tried to count Smart's OT game winner too, which was like that was the most egregious of all the bad calls. It was like every single person on planet Earth knew that he didn't get it off in time, and the refs were like, count it, I guess. I don't know. I guess we didn't see it. I guess count it. I'm like, what are you doing? Thankfully, you can review it and fix it right away. But like, the Sixers are not a better team than the Celtics. And by that I mean like the final stretch of that fourth quarter when the Celtics turned it on defensively, when Joe Mazzulla, I think they cut to the timeout huddle, and Joe Mazzulla's just yelling at his guys, "We have another gear we can get to defensively," and then they immediately like get to that gear. That is the Boston Celtics that I expect to see. Like when I watch this, every time I turn on a Celtics game, and I'm reminded of the individual players they have on this team, I'm like, how does anybody score on these guys? Their offense can be a mess at times because of what we've talked about before. Is like it feels like they have zero killers on the team, especially late in the game. It feels like they have a team full of sidekicks. Like Jason Tatum is the guy, but at the same time, does he want to be the guy? I think Jaylen Brown is more wired to be the guy, but Jason Tatum has the skill set to be the guy. And there's just like an identity crisis. And as they're trying to figure it out, Marcus Smart's like, "I'll take the ball and I'll just do it." And all the Celtics fans are like, "Are we sure about that, Marcus?" I can't imagine being a Celtics fan watching this team because they to me as a unbiased observer. In fact, I'm probably biased in the sense that I am cheering very much against the Celtics to win. And yet every time I watch the Celtics, I'm like, they're definitely the best team on the court. But it's not a coincidence that they're tied 2-2. And I don't think it's a given that talking about flipping the switch, I don't think it's a given that the Celtics are they're going to lock in now and now they're going to pull this out because as we've said before, like they just find ways to get in their own way. They find ways to shit down their leg late in games. Missoula gets a lot of heat for not calling the timeouts late. I actually don't have a problem with it, but at a certain point, like if it continues to not work, maybe you should mix it up. Like I think it's one of those deals like when it doesn't work in a vacuum, like people go crazy. But then like I'm just kind of I'm more used to Roy Williams at North Carolina. Like this was his thing, is he never called timeouts late. And when it doesn't work, you get killed for it because your team looks like chickens with their heads cut off, just running around out there. But I also think, TJ, and maybe you can disagree with this, when those moments happen where like it's a tie game and you feel like the offense is supposed to call timeout and they don't, and they're like, oh shit, they're just gonna play through. I always feel like it's working in favor of the offense. Like I always feel like when I'm a neutral observer, I'm thinking to myself, I would much rather be cheering for the offense right now than the defense, because I think the defense thought that the timeout was coming, and oh shit, it's not coming. Now with Missoula, it might be different because you know that he's not going to call these timeouts late, but I never really have a problem with it in the moment, but it's very easy to look back on it when you get possessions like the Celtics did at the end of regulation and at the end of overtime and say, this is insane. Why does this man continue to trust his team when his team continues to let him down?
Yeah. I think being a fan of a college team that is often in late game close situations, leaving a timeout on the board when you had the ball at the end of the game, if you lost, feels like shit. It's like, yeah, we could have drawn something up, but I think that a timeout late probably benefits the defense more because you can it's easier to draw up like a stopper play against a team that's probably just going to try and take a last second three. Like you kind of know what their plan is going to be depending on what the score is.
Yeah, or you throw a double at a guy and the offense is drawing up this play that just gets and then the defense comes out like spider monkeys just running around throwing their arms around, and suddenly like the play you drew up is irrelevant. And I don't know. I've always felt like when I'm a fan watching and my team doesn't call the timeout, I'm like, let's go. Like I feel good about it. And when I that is like one of the lowest moments ever. Is like if I'm watching an Ohio State basketball game, we're up by 1, there's 12 seconds left, and oh shit, they're not. Oh my god, they're not calling timeout. Like I feel I feel my heart sink. I'm like, oh no, this is bad. This is so bad. So when it happens, like in these instances, like with the Celtics, like I don't think it's the worst thing. Now, when you don't get a shot off at the end of regulation, obviously it's easy to armchair quarterback and say, what the hell were we thinking there? But no, I'll defend Joe Mazzulla, but at the same time, at a certain point, you have to like if it's not working, you should probably try something else. I guess it would be also be my other thing. So I understand if you're a Celtics fan, you're frustrated. You're like, we've been watching this all season, and the hit rate is 10% on this shit. Like, at some point, Joe, please. Because this is the other thing, TJ. When Roy Williams would do it, I always trusted Roy Williams because he's Roy Williams. Right. Roy Williams is like in his 60s, one of the great all-time basketball coaches. So if he doesn't call timeout, I'm like, well, Roy knows more than everyone else. With Joe Mazzulla, the fear is at 34 years old, first-year head coach, you're wondering, is he not calling timeout because he thinks it's like the smart strategy, or is he not calling timeout because he has nothing to say to his guys? Right. That he would call timeout and be like, I don't have a play. I don't have a play. And it's probably especially frustrating to Celtics people because Brad Stevens is the exact opposite, where he has a million plays. That's his whole thing, is like, I have a play for every single situation and every single in-game scenario. But I don't have a problem with it. My ultimate point is that, like, in the moment, I thought Marcus Smart was going to hit the shot at the end of regulation, and he literally did hit the shot at the end of overtime. It was just a half second too late. So, like, I don't think it's that big of a deal, even though I understand Celtics fans' point of view if you're losing your mind about this. So I
think that Celtics fans are losing their mind too, because like it shouldn't be that close just based off of personnel. Exactly. But I hope that this Celtics 76er series goes as long as possible for two reasons. One is to see how many outfits James Harden has planned, because he's just been wearing like crazier and crazier outfits every game, and I guess it works. For like, he wore Jeanco jeans one night. He wore like a huge like crocheted teddy bear type looking outfit in last night's game. And then the other reason is just the streams. I don't know if you've caught any of the clips from the streams with Hank and Part of My Takes producer Max. I mean, I went out to dinner with my parents yesterday, and they're so locked into the Barstool world that they were watching the stream through the car speakers when I walked out of my building, and I just heard Max screaming from like the elevator coming downstairs, because he's so loud and into it. And I want to see how far he'll go, or if his head will just like explode off of his shoulders at some point. I'm all in for as many max streams as possible.
It's the Philly, exactly like we said when we had Roan on the show. We were talking about Philly and Boston fans. I mean, they're both scumbags, just different breeds of scumbag, but also kind of the same. And it's sort of the whole dynamic. You couldn't ask for. I'm with you. The rivalry of Golden State and LA is perfect for West Coast, and Boston, and because San Francisco is the Boston of the West Coast, LA is the New York of the West Coast, and well, I guess this isn't New York. Whatever. I'm losing the analogy. Boston, Philly, the New York fans, New York basketball fans are not on the same level of scumbaggery as Boston, Philly fans. My analogy fell apart when I introduced New York. Apologies. You know where I'm going with this, TJ. It feels like too similar.
Yeah.
It's exactly what both coasts need. We need a LA Bay Area rivalry, and we need the Boston, Philly for the vibes. The only other note I had from the game was Embiid was very much shook down the stretch, and Horford was bottling him up, and that is a situation that I will certainly be monitoring as we move forward in this series. So
Embiid needed PJ Tucker to get him locked in at the end of the game. PJ Tucker had to save the team basically.
Yeah, did not love that. Did not love that at all. Embiid was very much shook, and he wanted to be anywhere else on planet Earth than right there in that moment with Al Horford guarding him. So. Yeah, I think James Harden. I think his next move for Game 7, maybe save it for Game 7. Do the Shia LaBeouf, I am not famous, like bag on your head.
Yeah,
I think he shows up Game 7 like that, and it's all Sixers. And then Harden.
I am not a basketball player.
I'm not a basketball player. Heat Knicks. I gotta be honest, dude. I think I just don't care as much as I wanted to. I don't know what it is. I've been watching these games. I think the Knicks just feel lifeless. The Heat, I'll say it. I want to make fun of the Heat culture, but I finally respect it. Fine, I'll admit it. I respect Heat culture. Like the idea of the Heat having this like special sauce formula culture is so stupid to me. It can't possibly work. That can't possibly be how they continue to win playoff series with two undrafted guards in the starting lineup. That can't be it. There's like something else at play. It's got to just be Jimmy Butler's greatness. It's got to be XYZ. But fine, I'll admit it, TJ. The Heat, there's something to the Heat culture. There's something to the special sauce in South Florida. But yeah, this series has been a stinker in my eyes. Not that it's been like bad basketball per se, but it's just been like I expected this to be the one I cared about most, and it's by far the one I care about least. And it might be because I'm on the West Coast and they're tipping off at 4 p.m. a lot. But I just can't for me, I just can't really get into it that much. And like I said earlier, like Julius Randle saying after tonight that I think they want it more than us. That kind of reflects my feelings towards the series too, where it's like, okay, if Julius Randle, I know I'm not crazy because Julius Randle is saying that the Knicks don't have the intensity that we expect from them. So yeah, I don't really have much to say. I mean, it's like the Heat are in control. They continue to. It doesn't matter who they throw out on the floor. If you're wearing a Heat jersey, Kevin Love was literally dead. Literally, you had to resurrect this man, and now he's hitting shots and playing great basketball. Same with Duncan Robinson, who's completely buried and he doesn't play well every time he sees the court. But this man was done. He was toast. He was an albatross contract for the Heat, and now all of a sudden he's getting minutes in all these series, and they're like, yeah, throw him out there. We can win games playing Duncan Robinson a ton of minutes. I don't know how they do it. They just continue to do it. So I was wrong. I'll tip my cap and I'll say the Heat. There is something to the Heat culture. I don't get it. It makes no sense. But damn it, they figured something out. So
yeah,
there you go.
I think they're gonna get steamrolled in the next round by no matter who they play. I think it's more the Knicks have just rolled over, which I don't know why that happens. I don't know if it's a Frank the Tank thing. His teams are 1-7 in the NBA playoffs so far this year, Nets and Knicks, since he made the switch.
Yeah, that's true.
It is
probably Frank.
You've played on competitive sports teams that have made postseason runs in the past. That's a fact.
That's a fact. Thank you, TJ.
The leader of the team, or the emotional leader of the team, or the face of the team, however you want to describe Julius Randle, saying that the other team just wants it more than that, that's like the most ridiculous thing I think you could possibly say in the situation the Knicks are in right now.
That's that's something you say after the series is over.
Yeah, they wanted it more.
which I think in his mind the series is over.
Yeah, like there are more games. It's not technically over. It may be like emotionally over, but you still can make a comeback if you want to.
It's like I said. They're facing the same thing Golden State's facing, which you're down 3-1, but you have 2 of the final 3 games at home.
Yeah.
So take care of your home court and win 1 game, and yeah, sure you do have to win 3 in a row, but when 2 of those are at home, it's not exactly the most daunting thing in the world. But yeah, the body language and the literal language, the oral language coming out of from the Knicks is troublesome to say the least. Quick break to talk about HelloFresh. Flavors in full bloom at HelloFresh. Enjoy the taste of springs with chef-crafted recipes featuring ripe, seasonal ingredients delivered right to your door. HelloFresh does more than just delicious dinners. Not only can you take your pick from 40 weekly recipes, but you can choose from over 100 items to round out your order, from snacks and easy lunches to desserts and pantry necessities. Everything arrives in one box on a delivery day you choose. Check Save Money off your growing to-do list with the help of HelloFresh. HelloFresh is cheaper than grocery shopping and 25% cheaper than takeout. No worries if you're not a pro in the kitchen. HelloFresh's foolproof recipes arrive pre-portioned and easy to prepare in just a few steps. When the spring sunshine is calling your name, don't call for takeout. Get HelloFresh instead. Their quick and easy meals make feeding the family a cinch, and without the high price tag. Their new fast and fresh options are ready in just 15 minutes or less. No more scouring the grocery store for that one ingredient to complete your recipe. HelloFresh takes away all that hassle by delivering fresh, pre-portioned ingredients so you have exactly what you need and helps you cut down on food waste. Go to HelloFresh.com/MarkTitus16 and use code MarkTitus16 for 16 free meals plus free shipping. That's HelloFresh.com/MarkTitus16 for 16 free meals plus free shipping. HelloFresh.com. Mark Titus 16. Go do it now. All right, let's talk to Sam Vecenie. This is the meat and potatoes of the show. I had a fun conversation with Sam. He's the best. He and I go back a long way, and he's just a guy who's plugged in basketball and in a lot of different avenues, and I love talking to him. And I hope you enjoy listening to us talk about Bronny to USC and all sorts of other nonsense. So here's Sam Vecenie. All right, joining me now is Sam Vecenie, host of the Game Theory podcast, writer for The Athletic. I think he is the best NBA draft guy out there. He is the best drinking buddy out there as well, if I may say so. So what else are you an expert at? Australian football at this point, I would say.
Netball, which is like a sport over here that my wife plays. Any sort of Australian drinking culture at this point, I think I've become pretty indoctrinated into.
Pastry chef? Weren't you dabbling in pastry chef or something like that? I remember. Yeah.
I mean, you tasted the wedding cake. I made.
Yeah, I know. I know. Yeah.
Yeah, like that. I mean, movies. I watch a lot of movies.
Can one man have it all, Sam? Can one man have it all? I mean, save some for us. So we have to start. You live in Australia, obviously. It's part of the monarchy, and everybody is talking about the coronation. I also want to talk about the coronation, but I want to talk about the coronation of a different king, a different prince, shall I say. How about this for a segue? So Bronny committed to USC, Sam. And if you'll indulge me for a second, I would like to gaslight my audience into believing that I never actually wanted Bronny at Ohio State. Because when I saw the news that this man was committed to USC, it dawned on me. Like, I didn't realize it until that moment. He sucks, doesn't he? Like, he kind of sucks.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, he could have gone to Ohio State. He could have made the right choice, but he chose to take the easy path and stay in Los Angeles around his family. I mean,
so I'm getting a lot of questions about this, and I just want to address them off the top. Number one, I'm not salty. Number two, I'm not mad. I'm not mad at all. If I do appear to be mad, that is a misreading of the situation on the listener's part. It is not me being mad. It is you misinterpreting what that is. I think, as you said, like, he wanted to stay in LA. I think there are plenty of kids out there that don't want to follow in their father's footsteps. And LeBron had such a great legacy playing at Ohio State for those 4 years he was there, and then got his locker retired by the program, that I think Bronny just ultimately thought, I want to carve my own path, and I don't want to follow my dad's footsteps when my dad also played football for 4 years at Ohio State. People forget. And shattered Jesse Owens' track records, I think. Anyway, Bronny to USC. How mad should I be? Really? Like how mad you've watched Bronny a lot more. He became a meme to me. Like once I was at the visit, I was literally in the gym when LeBron James and his son were there for the Notre Dame game, and there was like
Oh,
20
so this
people.
is your fault.
Yeah, it might have been, dude. Maybe that's
This
why
is
it's
your
personal
fault.
to me. Because
Yeah,
I was there on the visit, Sam, and I spoke to the team after the practice. And Bronny, I think, was like walking out the door as I was like approaching the team to talk to him. But maybe it was my fault somehow. Maybe he looked across. He's like, that guy's gonna talk to the team. I don't want any part of this program.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, he's only like 6'3". Like he's not big enough to talk to the team. Like, what are we doing here? No, look, the way I'll talk about Bronny is I think he's a really good player. I think he's someone that like will help you win basketball games as a college basketball team earlier in his career than a typical freshman. Like he can really shoot and he can really defend. Those are the two things that he does really well. I think that some of the draft type has probably gone a little bit overboard because he's essentially like a 6'3" combo guard that
Yeah.
off the bounce at this point, and that's just a really hard thing to sell to NBA teams right now. But in terms of helping you win college basketball games right now, like he shoots and he defends, and that's a valuable thing.
Yeah, I think it also helps that he keeps saying, or at least my understanding is that he wants to be Russell Westbrook more than he wants to be his father. And Russell Westbrook is coming off of playoffs where he wasn't total dog shit. So like right now, in this moment in time, I think that comparison plays. I think if you're like, I'm Russell,
Yeah.
I want to be Russell Westbrook, I think that plays a little better than it may have a few months ago. What about the timing with this though, Sam? Because I'm trying to wrap my head around this. Like the James family is very calculated, obviously. This is not like a wishy-washy thing with them. Like every move they make is calculated. So two things that I'm confused by, and I need you to help me think this through. Number one, he goes on a visit to Ohio State. This is, as far as I know, this was the only visit that was made public. And now I'm sure he's obviously visited USC many times, and he's probably gone up to Oregon 1,000 times when he's up there at Nike and all that. But the Ohio State visit was the only one that was made super public, that he took the photo shoot with the Buckeyes jersey on and with the family around. Like it was very much like a regular visit. All the other ones were more in secret. And I guess I'm a little confused, or a little surprised, I should say, that LeBron would allow his son to wear a jersey and like make these pictures so public if he's not in fact going to actually go to Ohio State. So there's that part of it. The other part that was confusing to me was I felt like the timing was weird, that they announced this like 2 hours before the Lakers and Warriors tipped off, and I was trying to make sense of that. And I was like, was it just so Bronny could go to the game and like get on TV and then say he committed to USC? Like I was very like, why would you wait super long to make the commitment and then announce it right before LeBron tips off against the Warriors? I felt like that was a misfire too. So I'm trying to figure out what the hell is going on with both of those things.
So I think both were strategic. And the first one, the Ohio State piece of it, if you go back to when that visit occurred, there were a lot of questions regarding whether or not Bronny was going to go to college at all. And it felt like to me, from having talked to some people, that Bronny was not necessarily being recruited by a lot of college coaches, despite how good he is, because people thought he was not going to go to college. So I think the idea there was like, essentially, let's, make a big show of it. Let's showcase that he is going to take these visits. He's really considering the college route. He's not just going to go to the G League Ignite. He's not just going to go that professional route. I think that was a very strategic play. I think they were trying to get the word out, basically, like, we're back up. We're trying to go to college. Yeah. Like, let's consider, like, let's try and get some recruit.
You're saying LeBron was using Ohio State and just for public relations, or he was pretending to have a stronger affiliation with the university than he actually has? That can't be right, Sam. That can't be it.
Yeah, right. The second piece of it is, why now? So I think behind the scenes, there is a hope that by committing to USC, there will be, now they have Bronny James, they have Isaiah Collier, obviously. They have a pretty interesting starting lineup featuring Boogie Ellis as well, who's an all Pac-12 player last year. that they might be able to convince some other players to potentially join them. And there's obviously quite a bit of buzz. Like, I know Kentucky fans right now, like, this is, public at this point. I don't know how real it is. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I have any idea on like the actual reporting and insight, like who wants that. But I know that Kentucky fans are, looking at Aaron Bradshaw right now as like oh wait, like he's, apparently doing NIL with Clutch. Like, do we need to be worried that, USC, like the Clutch might try and convince him to go to USC kind of thing?
Yeah. Yeah. That's Ron Hollins also he's not in the mix for USC,
Yeah.
would he be?
No, I mean, look, not to my knowledge. I'd been told the Ignite was in the mix there, and that Texas, I think, is still in the mix, and like I think Arkansas is maybe another one for him.
Yeah.
But what I'll tell you is like Ron Holland, I think will have his choice of going anywhere. Ron Holland was the best American player I saw at Hoop Summit this year.
He's my favorite player. He's my favorite player in this class. I wrote that down. I wanted to make sure I said it on this. And we could talk about the class here in a second. But Ron Holland is definitively, and I say this as a guy that just basically Googles all these prospects, watches 5 minutes of YouTube,
Yeah,
and
of
then
course.
makes up my mind. That's
what you got to do. Yeah, that's how you do it. No, I mean, look, having seen Ron, like Ron is a stud. Like Ron is super athletic. He's super energetic, aggressive. Like, yeah he's a dude.
He's got a high motor, dude. I freaking love that, especially out of young players. Back to Bronny and the USC part of this. As you said, Boogie Ellis is coming back. Collier's obviously going there, the number one recruit in the country, depending on which service you look at, because every service, it seems like, especially with this class. I think this class broke the record for the most number one recruits in the history of college basketball. But Isaiah Collier is one of those number ones. Kobe Johnson started last year for USC. I assume those, even if you're going like three, like those three are probably going to start over Bronny. Bronny's going to come off the bench. But you think like this is a good fit for him in terms of what you said, that like he's a 3-and-D type guy, and he's not like, basically we as a viewing public of college basketball should not look at Bronny James and say, we expect you to be a superstar, we expect you to be an All-American. But that's not to say he's not good. I'm just trying to like figure out the best way to set the, like, if his name wasn't, take the LeBron part out of it, obviously, and take the NIL valuation, and he's got however many million Instagram followers and all that. Just the actual basketball player. You said you're not super high on his one and done idea, but like, we expect a serious impact next year. Like, he's gonna be a sixth man for USC and be. Is that, I mean, how many minutes are we talking? How much are we like? And the other part, I guess, of that is, how much does Andy Enfield have to play the game? That if Bronny is playing 17 minutes a game, do we anticipate a scenario where LeBron's being the GM like he does and saying, we got to get my son more burn? Like, how are we realistically forecasting this year shaking out for Bronny at USC?
Yeah, it's really interesting. So everything I've been told about Bronny, like as a kid, is that he's like an unbelievable kid. And I think that like he would understand coming off the bench, like from the jump. Like I think that he would get that and like would be good with it. I also think there is like the portion of this that we have to be realistic about this from a business perspective. Like I think that it would be ideal for LeBron, in his mind, for Bronny to get to the NBA as soon as possible so that they can play on the same team in the NBA, right? Or so they can play together. So how much is Andy Enfield going to have to play the game remains to be seen. I think there is like a real possibility of that, but I think I want to keep an open mind, just because literally everything I've been told about the kid is that he has like this unbelievable demeanor and unbelievable mindset, and he's willing to really come in and work, and like he's just an awesome, polished, like great human being. You're right though, in terms of the players. Like, look, you have Isaiah Collier. Isaiah Collier is better than Bronny James. Boogie Ellis was all Pac-12 last year. He is,
he's starting. Those two are 100%. Those two are 100% starting. Yeah,
I would imagine so.
Yeah.
And then you obviously have Kobe Johnson, who was, I think, like honorable mention all defense in the league, was a really good defender for them last year. Jalen Johnson's brother, who plays for the Atlanta Hawks now, former Duke Blue Devil. Really, really solid, starting caliber Pac-12 player. I would think Bronny projects to come off the bench right now and probably play 20 to 25 minutes a night. It would be my guess.
Is Andy Enfield equipped for this? That was the other thing I thought about. Like, is Andy Enfield? He's so. He's so, like, for a guy who once upon a time offered the entire Bagley family a scholarship just to get Marvin Bagley, which was just such he for a guy who's willing to do that. I want to pull my hair out at how much he just like lives in the shadows and doesn't. He's not like there are college basketball fans who know Andy Enfield and have no idea what his voice sounds like. He's not a guy that's putting his face in front of cameras all the time. He's not a guy that's he's not a John Calipari. He's not a Penny Hardaway. He's not a Jawan Howard. You know, like he's not a Bruce Pearl where he's trying to control in the way that these guys are like, I want to dominate the media part of all this. Andy Enfield doesn't do that. So, like, I always get the impression that he's just kind of like a quiet figure on the bench, but then every single big-time recruit has USC in the mix, and this isn't a coincidence. Yeah.
Yeah, like, it's just so funny because, like, do you remember when he got hired at USC? Like, he was like Mr. Dunk City, you know, I'm coming from Florida Gulf Coast. Didn't he buy, like, a billboard saying that, like, USC, like, runs the city or whatever?
Yeah, yes,
wasn't that him? Like... And now he's like settled into being this guy. Honestly, like I think he's probably pretty equipped for it. Like he's the winningest coach essentially in USC basketball history at this point. He's had better success at that school than any basketball coach previous to him has had. And I think that demeanor is probably better for managing a circumstance like this. He is like, if you meet him, like he is genuinely like a very low key guy, like pretty relaxed and
maybe that's better. I don't know. I picture a basketball.
Better.
I picture a basketball team with you have the number one recruit in the country. You have LeBron James' son. You might be favored to win the Pac-12 next year. I don't know how it's all going to shake out, but I feel like UCLA and Arizona are certainly going to take a step back, and I imagine USC is going to be a trendy pick to win the Pac-12, if not like the overwhelming favorite. You now have a situation where the USC football program is just swallowing alive the West Coast again, and there's a real machine going on there where like there's a buzz around the campus, around the athletic program. And
out Juju Watkins too, the top women's player in the country, is going to USC.
Yes, and I feel like all of this together, it makes, in my mind, the coach of this basketball team should be more like Deion Sanders and less like Andy Enfield. You know what I mean?
I actually love that idea. Now that you pitched me on this, yes,
it just feels like a little off. And this has nothing to do with Andy Enfield. It's just like when I never saw this coming for Andy Enfield's career when he got to USC, that he would be the guy at the helm for this sort of cultural moment in time in college basketball where it's like, I'm going to be the coach of the team that, but I don't know. There have been surprise. I mean, you could have said the same thing about like Thad Matta when he was at Ohio State and you got you got Greg and Mike and all those guys. So I guess it doesn't always work that way, but that in my mind, if you told me all these things, I'd be like, so this is the college basketball equivalent of Deion Sanders. And he's the furthest thing from that.
No, yeah, absolutely. Like I do agree with it. It's funny. Like I do and I don't disagree. Like when he first got to USC again, like it felt like this is what he was trying to do. Like he wanted to go get all these great recruits. He wanted to take back LA and like all this stuff, right? And then he settled into being this like low key, like nondescript kind of basketball coach. Like when you think about USC basketball, like obviously like when you think about Virginia basketball, you think, we're going to run, pack line defense. We're going to run a very slow pace. When you think about, West Virginia, you think of Press Virginia and all this stuff, even though they kind of don't do a lot of that anymore. When you think of, X, Y, and Z school, you think of a style. I have no idea what USC's style is outside of like have Evan Mobley and let him loose. Right. Offensively and defensively, like they did when they made the Elite Eight. Like,
yeah,
that part of it is tricky. And I think that part of it is going to be complicated. Like, I don't know what they're going to run next year. Like Isaiah Collier is going to want the ball in his hands all the time because that's who he is. Oh yeah. By the way, Boogie Ellis also wants the ball in his hands all the time.
Should we start there's only one basketball narrative about this?
Oh no. That started from the minute that Boogie Ellis decided to return to USC. Like that is going to be a real factor here. There only is one basketball. And oh, by the way, now you're adding Bronny James, who the biggest thing he needs to showcase for NBA scouts is what he can do with the basketball. And I don't know about you. I don't really see that as an opportunity for him at USC. So it's going to be weird. It's going to be bizarre. I would not pick them to win the Pac-12, almost certainly, despite the fact they have the most talent, just because of all of these factors.
Right. So I think I've arrived at the point where I think Bronny has made the biggest mistake of his life not coming to Ohio State, but also
Yes.
I never wanted him at all. So it's a good mistake.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's where we land on this. Can we talk about this freshman class in general? Because I'm gonna say something. You tell me how crazy I am for this. Because I really don't know if this is crazy or not. But I've watched enough YouTube of these guys, and I watched some of the McDonald's game, and I saw enough to say this. I think this class kind of stinks. I'm not really high on this class, and I think I'm not high on it because Isaiah Collier and DJ Wagner, neither one of those guys feel like guys who should be like the number one recruit in the country. When you look back historically at like guys who are number one recruits, like neither one of those guys jump off the screen at me. Am I insane for thinking this?
No, while I was out in Portland and talking to, people around, NBA scouts, executives, etc., at Hoop Summit, literally watching all of these players play. Bronny was there, Ron Holland was there, Justin Edwards was there, DJ Wagner, Isaiah Collier, etc. I asked them the question, like, at what pick in the 2023 NBA draft would you pick the best player in this class, whoever you think it is, right? And frankly, most people think that Modest Buzelis, the kid going to the G League Ignite, is the best player, so he's not even going to college. Yeah. Their answer was somewhere between 5 and 9.
Whoa.
Basically, like, there is no top 4 pick in this class in next year's class.
So they're yeah. So like any the top 5 to 9 picks in this year's draft would be number 1 if they came out next year. Is kind of what we're saying there.
That's kind of the equivalent. That's right.
That's
depending
crazy
on who it is. Yeah. Like Amon Thompson, like Cam Whitmore, I think is a better prospect than Ron Holland, frankly. And I think Cam had a bit of a messy season at Villanova, obviously. Yeah. I'm trying, I have Anthony Black at number 8. I would guess that the best player in that class after a year of development will probably be better than Anthony Black. So it'd be somewhere between, it'd be like 6, 7 for me, something like
that. But still, that's a lot of guys though.
Yeah, no, but that's what this class is. It's not there's not a high-end guy in this class. It's funny, like when I went to Hoop Summit, the guy outside of Ron Holland on the US team that I was most impressed with was Jackson Shelstead, the kid that's ranked like 40th going to Oregon and just looks like a Peyton Pritchard clone.
Yeah.
Like he's better than Peyton, I think, long term, but like that's the guy that I was like, oh yeah, this guy is ready to play college basketball tomorrow. Like he'd be awesome. He'll be, running the show for Oregon from day one, like all of that. But that's, again, that kid's ranked like 40th and he's like 6'2" with a 6'3" wingspan and like has no upside long-term, based off of what the NBA looks for.
So the Kentucky side of this is that this is supposed to be the class that's going. You started laughing already.
I have concerns.
I know, that's what I'm saying, dude. Like I absolutely hate the idea of DJ Wagner and Robert Dillingham playing together. I hate it. But again, I say this as a guy, like I'm very openly admitting I've watched 5 minutes of YouTube on both these guys. DJ Wagner I've never been more confident he will lead the country in dribbles this year. This man pounds the shit out of the basketball and just at all times is going nowhere, but he's dribbling a lot.
Well, no, the thing that might stop that is that Robert Dillingham also
dribbles.
Like that's the reality. So we're in a circumstance now where it's going to be, again, there's only one basketball on the court. Right. Oh, by the way, can you imagine what this is going to look like if Oscar Tshiebwe goes back?
Oh my God.
The lack of space that there is going to be on that court. It's going to be all of the Kentucky fan complaints about John Calipari not running like a modern offense, all like singular, like, whatever, roped into one. and it's going to look absolutely hideous because they also like don't like Antonio Reaves, by the way, like the guy they're expecting to come back and like be their, floor spacing shooter and everything. Like he got an invite to the G League Elite Camp. Like he's going to Chicago for the like combines coming up next week. So I don't even know if he's going back.
I was hoping so badly that Hunter Dickinson would go to Kentucky and inherit that. And Oscar comes back, and it's Oscar and Hunter and this group of freshmen that I love. For what it's worth, I love Reed Shepherd from what I've seen. Justin Edwards I think is smooth as hell. I really like him. But I don't think either one of those guys are. Justin Edwards is super highly touted, I know. So like maybe he wedges his way in there and like takes over and becomes the guy for them. But I see Dillingham and Wagner
next year.
Yeah, he'll be their best, but like are Wagner and Dillingham going to be able to admit that and say like let's let Justin Edwards run the show? I don't think they are. That's my concerns with Kentucky. Is like I think it's going to be a classic situation of like egos being a complete mess. That like because those are two DJ Wagner, Robert Dillingham are whatever the modern version of famous for recruit is. Like they're guys that are I don't know how to describe. What are they, big on TikTok or like fucking Instagram?
Yeah, they're like Instagram and TikTok fans. Yeah, like the generation beneath.
Yes, the generation beneath us. These are two dudes that like have I almost knew of their aura before I knew of their basketball ability. And I just don't see a world where they step into Kentucky and both of them step aside and let Justin Edwards be the best player. I don't know. It's going to be interesting, but good luck to John Calipari. He's got no pressure on him right now. That's the most important.
Yeah, it seems like things are going great in Lexington. Fans are all very, rational and excited about what Cal has done recently.
The NBA, the draft combine starts next week. It starts the same day as the lottery, if I saw that correctly. Next Tuesday, I believe, right? It's the same.
Yeah, typically like the front facing portion of the combine is like the Thursday and Friday.
Yeah.
Look, I don't know if it's different this year, but typically the front facing portion is Thursday and Friday, and then like the Tuesday and Wednesday are like the medical testing, and you start on some interviews and stuff if you're a player and like your teams, and it's like kind of all the important stuff that happens on the back end.
The combine doesn't officially start for me until we get word that one of the prospects is super fat. Like he clocks in at like a guy that we thought was going top 10 clocked in at like 14.5% body fat, and we're all of a sudden like, oh shit, oh no.
Yeah. And all of us that like look like normal human beings, but also have 14% body fat.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, that guy's so fat.
Yeah, so fat. What a fat ass I tweeted with my 21% body fat about a kid.
Yeah, totally.
9.5%.
The process starts for me with the combine when I hear that somebody pulled out of the combine because they quote unquote have a promise in the middle of May in the NBA draft process, which is exceedingly rare for teams to actually just be like, yeah, like, we'll definitely take you a month and a half from now with no knowledge of what our, trade potential could look like, whether or not, if you're Portland, like, yeah, we're going to promise you a 23 when we don't even know if Damian Lillard's going to be on our team next year. Yeah, sure. Sounds great.
I was kind of shocked to learn. I figured this out today, like researching the combine. I was shocked to discover that the combine has been around since 1987, which blew my mind. Like if you put a gun to my head and asked me when it started, I would have said like 2013 or 14. And Andrew Wiggins was the first person to ever sit out of the combine, and that's like, like that's but no, that can't be right, because I remember Kevin Durant didn't do 185. He couldn't bench press 185 in 07. So maybe I would have thought like I whatever. The point is,
yeah, like wait, like there's no way you thought that, because like there's no way that Mike didn't go to the combine, right?
Yeah, so I would have thought 07. But the point is, I didn't realize like 1987, and part of this is because obviously the basketball combine is not as valuable as the football combine. The football combine, generally, if you're big and strong and fast and can jump, they're gonna salivate over you and be like, we're gonna put you on the field. We're gonna find something to do with you. That's like the measurables are super important to football. Basketball, you get dudes that can jump out of the gym and strong as hell and yada yada yada, and it kind of doesn't matter, because it's like if you can't hoop, it's more skill based. So like I feel like the combine's kind of worthless. But also for some reason people think it's still valuable. So my question to you as a guy that's a draft guy. In the one and done era, do you think we're working towards the combine becoming more valuable or less valuable, just on a whole level?
So up until a month ago, I would have told you less valuable because teams kind of don't care about it. Like they care,
Yeah.
they don't care about the front facing portion of it. Like all of the numbers that you get in terms of like, okay, they want to get a final wingspan measurement. Like it'd be nice to see like how big a dude's hands are, etc. Right? Like they want final measurements on that. They don't really care about the athletic testing because again, like you said, like can a guy hoop or not? That's the important part. You know, the thing that they really care about that is super valuable to them is the stuff that people don't see. They care about getting medical testing done on these players to see if there are any long-term like injuries that are going to cause them issues like structurally. And then they care about the interview portion process of this whole thing where they can sit down with these guys for like 15 minutes to half an hour or whatever and try to get to know them and try to understand who they are as people in like a speed dating circumstance kind of thing.
That
Now,
makes sense.
What has changed now is that within the new collective bargaining agreement, they are making players go to the combine from this point forward, starting in 2024. Like
Whoa,
you can't
really?
sit out of the combine anymore. If you sit out of the combine for a non-approved reason, and like the approvals are going to be based on like injuries, then you will not be eligible for the draft, basically.
What?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Totally serious. Like,
dude, this is awesome.
Yeah, the exceptions are injuries, and like if you're a European player, like Victor or yeah, so like Victor Wembanyama is a good example. Victor Wembanyama is currently like in the middle of a title race right now in France. Like his team is in second place in the French league, and they're not going to make Victor Wembanyama come while he's in the middle of this like title race, like a competitive basketball setting. But any other reason, they're going to make you go.
Put 185 on the bar, get Victor Wembanyama under that, and let's see what happens. All right.
Yeah, let's go.
I am so tempted. Now I think you're gonna say I'm crazy for this, but I am so tempted because Victor Wembanyama is such an obvious number one prospect. So he's so obviously like the best prospect since I guess LeBron would be what we would point to. That the contrarian in me, Sam, says this is the gambler in me, which I'm not even that heavy of a gambler, but you know, I see opportunity. I see opportunity here. I think we can get good value on calling Victor Wembanyama a bust because everybody's so sure that he's not going to be a bust. So I have half a mind, Sam, to start formulating my take that I think Victor Wembanyama is going to be a bust. How insane is this?
So it's the only reason it's insane is because I've gone back through the history of all of these like big guys that have come through and been considered like quote unquote generational prospects, right? It's basically like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Walton, Akeem Olajuwon, Patrick Ewing, Arvydas Sabonis qualifies from over in Russia. He just didn't get over here until later. Shaquille O'Neal certainly qualifies. Anthony Davis qualifies. Yao Ming, I think, qualifies. All of those names I just listed, there's like not a bust among them, right? Like they all made the Hall of Fame.
So we're due. We're due.
That's it. But I think that like, it depends on like what your like definition of bust is. Like, I think there's a chance Victor Wembanyama is like a top 20 player in the league.
What's more likely? Like Victor Wembanyama is in the GOAT conversation in 15 years, or Victor Wembanyama is out of the league in 15 years?
Probably the GOAT. Well, in 15 years, like
15 to 10,
there's a good chance he'll be out of the league because injuries. Well, he's 7'4",
so he's a bust.
Something like
you can't
that.
get 15 years out of this man. That's a bust.
There's a chance that injuries could occur. Like, let's not be unreal about that. But like, look, I think there's a very good chance that he is going to be like an all-star from day one. Like, I think he's going to be very good. I think he is it's like watching Rudy Gobert. If Rudy Gobert could like put people on skates, like off the dribble and then like pull up and knock down jumpers, except also 2 inches taller and with like a 3-inch longer wingspan. Imagine that.
The first time I saw Victor Wembanyama play, I was actually just angry. Like I was like a I was like an old, like, I don't know why this analogy comes to mind, but like I just picture like an old man, like some like 100-year-old man as like VR headsets are coming around, and he like puts on a VR headset for the first time, and he just takes it off angrily, throws it across the room. He's like, "Fuck that! I want nothing to do it." Like that, like the technology has. Science has gone so far that I'm just like I can't even enjoy it. I'm like, this is disgusting, and
Yeah.
it broke my brain. I was like, I can't even comprehend this. Get this out of my face. And I was angry for like 3 days trying to process what I just saw from Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah, like once a month, there is like something that Victor Wembanyama will do in one of these games where you're just like, oh, well, I've never seen a basketball player do that before. Like he took a pull-up three, like broke down a guy off the bounce with like 2 or 3 crossovers, took a pull-up three, front rimmed it, and like attacked the glass on his own from behind the 3-point line, and like tip dunked his own missed three, like off of like a pull-up jumper. And it's just like, what in the entire fuck did I just watch? Like there are just so many things he does like that where it's just like, wait, how does a human this big move like that?
Yeah.
And I just don't get it. He's one of the most impressive like athletes I've ever seen play basketball.
I'm gonna have you on before the draft at some point. We can dive into it a little more. But I just wanted to. I want to really get your thoughts on the combine initially, which is like, because like back in my day, you know why I didn't think there was a combine in 2007. I had to remember Kevin Durant not being able to bench press, because back in my day, Sam, we did have an NBA draft combine, but it went by a different name. It was called the NCAA tournament. Okay,
Yeah,
that was your
right.
combine.
Yeah.
That was your combine, and I'm really worried. That Brandon Miller is going to shit all over the NCAA tournament, and by that I mean Brandon Miller is going to be like the number 2 pick in this draft, and by being the number 2 pick in the draft, what NBA scouts are saying is we put zero value in the NCAA tournament because this man had a historically bad NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
And in my mind, but this is coming off the heels of Paolo Banchero letting Brady Manick eat his lunch, and he goes number 1. I'm just like I'm worried about the legacy of the NCAA tournament here, Sam. I'm worried that this doesn't matter.
But like Paulo ended up, he carried the team to the Final Four. Like Paulo was really good in the NCAA tournament.
That's true.
That matters.
He actually,
like, yeah, Brady Manick ate his lunch, but whatever.
He was better. He was better in the Final Four game than I remember. It's funny how your brain does that. Like if you would have asked me how Paolo played against Carolina in the Final Four, I'd been like, he was 3 for 17 with 8 turnovers, and I'm pretty sure he had like 20 and 10 for. I think he was yeah.
Yeah, he's
Anyway.
like totally fine. Yeah, I've been like trying to think because like obviously the Final Four this year, I was there, saw you, and like there was no guy that like really stood out at the Final Four as like an NBA draft prospect. Like Jordan Hawkins,
yeah.
Yeah, and like didn't play super well. The guy was Donovan Clingan. Like Donovan Clingan would have gone in the top 20, I think, in this class, but he decided to go back instead.
Yeah, and I like that. I like that for him, by the way. He's gonna be awesome next year. And all right.
But like you think too about like UConn. Like UConn doesn't have like any other real, like Andre Jackson maybe is a 1st-round pick. San Diego State does not have anybody invited to the combines. Florida Atlantic has John L. Davis, who got invited, and then who else? Who was the 4th team?
Miami.
Isaiah Wong and Jordan Miller, who like might be 2nd-round picks. So yeah, the NCAA tournament does not matter anymore. That's the reality of the situation. Like we don't, that's it. People don't care about it. They care about TikToks and Instagram Live, and that's the reality.
Victor Wembanyama. I think that's why my instinct is I just want to. Am I wrong to say I want to see Victor Wembanyama play at Rutgers before I get too excited? Am I wrong to say?
No, I mean we've never seen him go into Mackey Arena and put up 20 and 10. So I mean, can we really trust him?
Am I wrong to Yeah, by the way, I think Bronny is going to be one and done because he wants no part of USC in the Big Ten. Bronny will not be able to handle the grind of a Big Ten. He's too West Coast. He's too flashy. Like he wants to go play at Arizona and Arizona State. He can't handle Bronny at Rutgers. His draft stock will tank, dude.
He had the ability to go and play at the rack, and he turned that down. And I think that says something.
It's cowardly. It's cowardly.
Yeah. I mean, we need to be realistic about this.
My last thing, you are a Buckeye. You play it close to the vest. You don't like me bringing this up all the time about how you graduated from The Ohio State University. You are a fellow alum. And I don't even care about the Bronny part. I don't care about, I don't need you tweeting about how Ryan Day needs to be fired when Michigan beats us. I'm okay that you don't do all these things, Sam. We need more rational Buckeyes in the community, so I appreciate that you have like a level head about most stuff. One thing that disgusts me to my core, though, is that every goddamn year there's a fringe-ish first-round prospect coming out of Ohio State.
Yeah.
And you gas them up when you're not doing your duty as a Buckeye. And this year it's Bryce Sensabaugh. Sam, can I get a commitment from you, please? For the program needs this. Can you just like tell everybody he sucks and we get him back in Columbus? Like, what are we you did it last year with Branham. I'm sick of seeing this happen with Buckeyes. I'm sick of seeing Buckeyes that are like on the fence that could come back next year and be lottery picks. But because of guys like you're like Bryce Sensabaugh, he's got to go pro. He has to. It's disgusting.
I want to be very clear. I was lower on Malachi Branham than I think everybody else in the public sphere last year. And I like Bryce quite a bit this year. I think Bryce is good. Bryce maintained his eligibility though. Who's to say he won't be back? I would love to see him back. It'd be great.
No, he's not going to come back because he's going to go to the combine. He's going to ball out. And then like idiots like you and KOC are going to be like, he has to go. He has. And I'm going to be screaming at the heavens. Like, what is going on? What did I do to deserve this? Why can't I get one guy to come back?
I think Bryce is farther away than what a lot of people do.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Sam.
He is an exceedingly poor defender that will need to make some real improvement.
Thank you, Sam. That's the only part we're going to clip. We're going to put that out, and we're going to spread that all across the internet, and I'm going to deliver it to – I'm going to tag Bryce in it. All right, man. I'll let you go because I want to leave some meat on the bone. I want you coming back before the draft, and I want to have you back on before the big draft. But appreciate you making time, buddy.
No, of course. I'm glad that I found some time in between having to deal with Nikola Jokic shoving the Suns owner.
Matt Ishbia, Big Ten, walk on, dude.
No, really what I'm proud of is that Tom Izzo taught him how to take a flop. Like, I think it was really impressive that Tom Izzo, we should really respect Tom Izzo more as a coach now because of that.
What a hilarious, I had a lot of people ask me, do you think Jokic knew that was the owner? I was like, I don't think Jokic, I'm honestly 50-50 on whether Jokic knows who the Nuggets owner is, much less the Suns owner. Like Jokic, he lives in his own world. Man.
Yeah, I would bet you Jokic knows who the Suns owner is. I would bet you he has genuinely no idea what any other owner in the NBA looks like. Like he would have no idea.
The Nuggets, you mean? He knows his own owner, but he doesn't.
Yeah, he knows the Nuggets. He knows his own owner. He knows the Nuggets owner. He will have no idea what any other owner.
I agree. But a hilarious clip to see Matt Ishbia throw his arms up.
The fact that he threw the arms up was what was just absolute art about it. Like my take on this whole thing was literally that like former basketball player Matt Ishbia saw that like his guy was like in the stands and Jokic comes over to try and start the fast break because he always does this shit. Like that's what he always tries to do. He tries to get the ball, get it to the ref, get it back to be able to start like a 5-on-4. I think he realized that and like grabbed the ball and was like, okay, I'm gonna wait until Josh Okogie gets the ball or gets up. So then I'll give him the ball and then we'll be fine. We'll be able to play transition defense. And then like recognizes the potential that he can like maybe get Jokic suspended and just goes,
Well, I mean, it's a move that like a regular fan should have pulled. Like when Anthony Edwards in Denver threw the chair and the lady who was the usher, like you see the report of Anthony Edwards hitting an usher with the chair and the police were getting involved and all that. And I was like, holy shit, did he like fucking WWE, like just take a chair to this woman's head? And then you see the video and it like scrapes her. And I was like, with TJ and I talked about it on the show and we're like, come on, but also like, I guess like get your money if you can, if you're her. That's why I felt like Ishbia threw his arms up as though he was like, I'm going to try to sue Jokic. And then he didn't realize until he sat back down. He did the calculation where he's like, that's right. I'm the billionaire. He would sue me. But it looked like what I would do, which is like, oh my God, I'm never going to walk again. Jokic.
Yeah. How many charges like that did you take at Ohio State, Mark?
Oh my God. That was funny.
Evan Turner just drills you with his left shoulder and you're just going flying 6 feet backward.
Who was the healer? Benny Hinn, was that his name? That would like put his hands on people's forehead and then they would like faint backwards. They were like, Jokic gave him the I will exercise you of your demons, and then he just throws his arms up and all that.
I half expected Ishbia to come to like a press conference today, looking like the Bobby Petrino photo where he has the neck brace
on. All right, that's it. This is enough. We're officially off the rails. That's it. Sam Vecenie, Game Theory Podcast. Go subscribe. Go listen to Sam. He's awesome. He's the best. Yeah, that's that. We'll have you back on, Sam. But thanks for making time.
Yeah, of course.
Quick break to talk about Gametime, the exclusive ticketing partner of Barstool Sports, created by fans for fans. Gametime is the ticketing app that makes it easier than ever to score last-minute deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows, and they guarantee the lowest price. One show that I wish I had used Gametime to go to is Dead & Co. at Cornell tonight. It is May 8th for the deadheads out there. You know what this day means. And I was trying to follow the concert as I was watching the games, and apparently they were playing like the exact same set list that they played in 77. I wish I was at that concert. I wish I was at the concert in 77. I'm going to go see Dead & Co. shows this summer. I can't wait to do it. I'm going to probably go to Wrigley Field. I'm going to go to Folsom Field. And it's all going to be possible through the Gametime app. The biggest last-minute price drops can be found on the seats you thought you could never buy. The purchase process takes just 2 taps and 10 seconds. And once you buy your tickets, they're delivered directly to your phone. No printer needed. The app allows you to easily share tickets with friends via text so you can get into the game seamlessly. Skip the hassle and enjoy the moment. Download the Gametime app or go to the website, enter your email, and redeem code Titus for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download the Gametime app. Go to the website, enter your email, use code Titus, $20 off. Go do it now. All right, before we wrap this thing up and do some shout-outs, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about this Bob Huggins situation that happened today. We're recording this on May 8th on the Monday night, obviously after the Lakers game. But earlier today, if you missed the story, Bob Huggins was doing a live read for a sponsor, and on a hot mic said that's awful about the product he was supposed to. No, wait, I'm sorry. No, that's not what happened. He's not stupid. He's just homophobic. It says here in my notes. So I apologize for getting that wrong. Bob Huggins went on a local Cincinnati radio show and used a slur, and I'm sure most people listening by now know the story, but it was I want to say it was a huge surprise, but also at the same time, like, Bob Huggins is a guy who has always felt like he calls it like he sees it, and, you know, like, he's a straight shooter type. And anytime you like describe guys like that, you're always like kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. This is not to say that I ever expected to hear Bob Huggins on a radio interview just freely dropping slurs like this, but also I am not going to sit here and pretend like I am stunned that of all the coaches in the country that may do this, it was Bob Huggins. I don't know what West Virginia is going to do. I don't know. I actually don't think they are going to fire him. If I was betting on this, I don't think they're going to fire him. I think in my perfect world, I think Bob Huggins, as a representative of the university, of the state of West Virginia, of, you know, that group of guys, and he's supposed to be a leader and all this sort of thing. I continue to be naive about college sports. I always will be. I will always dream of living in the world where like the Mayberry-esque feeling of college sports still exists, and like the coaches are the leaders of men and all that kind of shit. And obviously most people that follow college sports at this point in time have given up on that dream. I will continue to hold on to it, and I will continue to think that there are good men out there that like know how to lead and know how to do this. So when situations arise where coaches have opportunities to have some sort of honor about themselves, I like to see them step up and be accountable and hold themselves accountable, which is to say that, like, I think what I would love to see out of this is I do think Bob Huggins should resign. I'm not saying that as like I demand his resignation. I'm not going to pretend that I'm angry and I demand a pound of flesh from Bob Huggins, and damn it, how could he say these words and all that. But Huggins himself said in his statement that he put out like immediately that words and actions have consequences, and accountability in my mind just means stepping up and facing the music. And I think like far too often people want to, I mean, this became a joke that I made on previous iterations of shows I did about Rick Pitino, how he was so good at saying, I take full responsibility, but it's not my fault. And you just get so jaded hearing that from coaches all the time about how, like, people can put out the statement and say, I take full responsibility for my actions. I'm, I should not have done that. I'm so sorry. The accountability falls on me. I have to be a better leader, yada, yada, yada. And all of it sounds great. And then you're like, well, what does that accountability look like? Well, it looks like you actually doing something about that. So that's where I landed on this, is like, I don't, I'm not like grabbing my pitchfork and torch, but I'm just like, man, this would be a refreshing moment in college sport, which isn't to say like if Bob Huggins does resign and steps down, like he's a hero, like he's not. This is a problem. He should not have used this language. This is bad. This is very much a bad situation. But now that we're here, like what should be done about it? I would love to live in a world where Bob Huggins sees that this is bigger than, whatever. You can't put out a statement, say I am accountable and I take full whatever, yada yada yada, but then also like downplay it and try to keep. I don't know. That's the part that like never sits well with me, is when coaches do that, and try to play the both sides of it, where it's like I want to take full responsibility and accountability, but also I don't want to suffer really anything at all, and I want to look up in a month and be right back where I was, with the same job, making the same salary, and it's like nothing ever happened. So that's it. The other note I had on this was the if you listen to this clip, did you listen to the clip, TJ?
Oh yeah.
The guys, like I need help understanding, like they open up the interview by saying, Coach, we had to cut, like, did I hear this correctly? They're like, we had to cut apart. I wrote it down. He said, Coach, now we're telling Huggins stories, but we had to cut it, which you kind of took a little shot at me as not being a trustworthy person. Would you like to revise and extend those remarks? And Huggins goes, absolutely not. And the other guy says, hey, Hugs, I told him I thought it was misunderstood and taken out of context. It was taken out of context. And he goes, I don't know. It must have been my thoughts at the time. That's what Huggins says. And then he goes on to say the slurs. And when I was listening to the clip, I was like, am I understanding this correctly? That like you said something that these radio hosts were like, whoa, we should cut all that and like restart at the top. What the hell did this man say at the top? I don't know. I care less. I care less about the punishment of Bob Huggins. Like my instinct was not like, how do we punish this man in this moment? My instinct is what is his duty as the head basketball coach at West Virginia, as a representative of the university, as a representative of the state. What is his duty in this moment? And I think it is to step down. I think it's to resign. I think this elevates itself to that level. Having said all that, TJ, I do not expect him to lose his job, and I do expect him to still be coaching basketball at West Virginia this year. And I'm going to tell you why. In large part because, well, two things. One, Bob Huggins is very much a guy who's like, as I said earlier, like I call it like I see it, like I go by the beat of my own drum type. He's not a guy that's going to like let. He's a guy who expects to go out on his own terms. Like he sees that. I get that feeling from Bob Huggins. He's like, fuck the world. I'm gonna go out on my own terms when I want to go out. Damn it. He's got that gene, that same sort of thing that like Bob Knight had when Bob Knight got fired in Indiana, and he was just like so beside himself how this could possibly happen to Bob Knight. He's like, that's not how that. I'm gonna do it my way. We're gonna go out the way I want to go out. The other part of this that's interesting is West Virginia's president is Gordon Gee. Now, this man used to be the president at Ohio State when I was at school at Ohio State. I know him well. Gordon Gee, as an aside, if I can pat myself on the back, at my graduation, TJ, Gordon Gee gave me a shout out at the graduation, which I thought was pretty cool. I was always kind of a Gordon Gee guy just because of that. But at the same time, I have to acknowledge what's in front of me, which is that Gordon Gee left Ohio State because he literally he left Ohio State because he literally shit on Catholics. In the same way that Bob Huggins shit on the Catholic slurs from Xavier, Gordon Gee stepped down at Ohio State in 2013. The first paragraph of the ESPN article that was written when Gordon Gee got in hot water says this. The president of Ohio State University said Notre Dame never was invited to join the Big Ten because the university's priests are not good partners, joking that, quote, those damn Catholics can't be trusted, according to a recording of a meeting he attended late last year. This is why Gordon Gee left Ohio State in the first place, was because he's like, those damn Catholics can't be trusted. Meanwhile, the other point of context we have with Gordon Gee, TJ, was he was the president of the university when Jim Tressel resigned when Jim Tressel was facing the NCAA violations with the tattoo gate and all that sort of thing. And this is why I always love Jim Tressel, because you want to talk about like duty and honor and all that sort of thing. Jim Tressel fucked up. Jim Tressel at no point in time ever said that he didn't fuck up. Jim Tressel, his emails come to light. Jim Tressel faced the music and he said, I fucked up. And he stepped down and he resigned and he walked away and he's never coached football since. And that's why the Buckeye and me will always love Jim Tressel for that, because I'm like, that's a man of honor. That dude fucking, that's what college sports should be, is like when you make a mistake, hold yourself accountable and actually serve some sort of, walk the walk a little bit. Anyway, in that moment when Jim Tressel was under investigation and they were trying to figure out like what's going to happen with Jim Tressel, direct quote from Gordon Gee when he was asked if he was considering firing Jim Tressel in March of 2011, he said, "No, are you kidding? Let me be very clear. I'm just hoping the coach doesn't dismiss me." That was his quote. I remember this so well. So that's who we're talking about as the University of West Virginia. And having those two pieces of information about Gordon Gee, I would just say I do not expect Bob Huggins to lose his job, even though I do think the best, now that this has happened, the best resolution to this story, in my mind, is Bob Huggins resigns in the coming days. I do not expect that to happen either. I do not expect him to lose his job. He will be suspended. He will go through some quote-unquote, like, fucking sensitivity treatment bullshit where, he comes back after a week and he's like, I learned my lesson. That'll never happen again. And then away we go. We live in a time where Chris Beard got a new job in the snap of a finger, and Juwan Howard struck a man on national television and coached later that season. So like, I'm done. Like, I'm done seeing stories of coaches doing wild shit and saying, well, that's it. He's done. That's gonna be, that's the last that guy's ever gonna coach. But I do wish we lived in
college sports are such like a intense business almost now, where it's like everything's locked tight behind closed doors. What's so weird about this though to me is like you were saying Huggins is a type of guy that would go out on his own terms. Like this almost felt like attempted career suicide to me. Like these situations happen all the time where like Tom Brenneman says something into a mic that he doesn't know is live and it's live. Or Mincy accidentally says something on a live stream. This was not that. This was like seemingly intentionally saying something knowingly onto a hot mic.
That's what I want to know what was said. Or maybe I'm misunderstanding what the first part of that clip was. But my interpretation of the first part of the clip was Huggins said something so heinous that these jackasses, who, by the way, were like egging him on and making transgender jokes and like also like they have some answering to do for their behavior in this thing. But these two jackasses, that was how I interpreted it, was that they heard Huggins say something and they were like, all right, we have to cut that. Let's start all the way over. And then they started and were like, Huggins, you didn't mean what you just said, right? And he's like, no, I meant it. I definitely meant that. In fact, not only did I mean that, but here's some more where that came from.
Which means this wasn't a live hit? Like they put that out and they were like, hey, look at this. Like they all look like assholes, but
it must have been, dude. I don't know. I'm so confused as to how this saw the light. Yeah, like you said, it just feels like it's career suicide. Or, I mean, very very easily could have been the case. Huggins was just completely sloshed and is just letting it rip and like keeping it. When keeping it real goes wrong, as Dave Chappelle used to say, where he just like thought he was just like chumming it up with some good old boys and they'll love it. I'll throw out the F word. They love that. These good old boys love it when and you're like, whoa, Bob, you're on.
Huggins has to have a little bit more media sensitivity than to know that the 1 p.m. Cincinnati radio spot on a Monday is like, let's let it fly show.
Yeah. You're not in your backyard at a bonfire.
Right. Like, this will be heard by people other than you and the other hosts. I don't know. It's a crazy situation. Like, I work in live stuff all the time, so it's something that I try to stay conscious of. But like, he just seemed like he was letting it fly, regardless of who was here. I don't know. Very weird.
Very, very weird. We'll cross the bridge when we come to it. If discipline comes down with Huggins, I mean, I'll save all my thoughts on. I don't need to do a reflection of his career or who he is as a man or anything like that. I'll just say that it was obviously heinous of what he said, and it was bad, and he should face the music for it. And what that music will ultimately be, I don't know. I don't expect it to be too much. It probably will be a slap on the wrist. The only thing I would say though is like Huggins only has so many years left. Like I think I don't think he was on the hot seat. I think coming into this last season, he was on the pre-hot seat. He was the hot seat was preheating, where he was sort of getting the Boeheim treatment, I would say, from West Virginia fans, where they're like, you're still our guy, you're still a legend, we still love you, but can we start to see a little bit of improvement? And then West Virginia showed that this year, and they were turning the corner. They're having a great transfer portal right now. I think there's optimism moving forward for the program, but Huggins is not a guy that, like, this isn't a situation that, Huggins is going to coach for 20 more years, if not for this anyway. So maybe they ultimately land on like some sort of agreement where it's like, why don't you just listen, Bob, you're going to coach for 2 more years anyway. Just step down now, make it look good. We'll clean our hands of it and everybody moves on. Anyway, let's do some shout outs. I have one shout out I want to start with. Our junior editor, Cody, who, Cody, you're on this call, correct? You're on the show right now. There he is. There's his face popping up on my
I'm
screen.
here.
There we go. Cody got the job. Thousands of people applied for it. We gave it to Cody. And I wanted you on the show tonight for 2 reasons. Number one, to introduce you to the rest of the audience. Like, I don't know how often you'll come on shows, but maybe you will. Maybe we get to Chicago and, maybe Syracuse you went to Syracuse, right?
No, I'm from Rochester. I'm a Syracuse fan.
You're a Syracuse fan. Okay. Same difference. Maybe Syracuse is relevant next year, and I want to get you in the mix. I don't know. So I just wanted to introduce you to the audience and say, here's Cody. Cody's shaking his head. They will not be relevant.
Yeah, they won't be relevant, but I'm happy to be here.
They don't have to be relevant for good reasons, dude. You could have like a Kenny Payne situation at Syracuse next year where you're just historically bad.
They've been relevant for all the wrong reasons. Boeheim's a disaster, like you're just talking about. So I don't know. We'll see.
He'll be back.
Yeah, Boeheim's back halfway through the season. I wanted you on the show though because today on the Yak, Big Cat just kind of out of nowhere came at you a little bit, and I just wanted to get an initial read. Like I was watching live. I was watching the Yak today live, and Dan just suddenly just goes, TJ, who's the new editor on Titus' show? And he pointed out that you tweeted on Derby Saturday. You're like, everybody drop your Derby fits, and you got literally 0 replies. And Dan was roasting you on the Yak live, and I guess Cody, I just want to I'm on Team Cody, obviously. TJ has split loyalties. TJ is I think we're the mistress, if I'm being completely honest. I think he's married to the Yak, and you and I are his mistress. I just wanted to get your initial read on this is your first instance of being thrust into some Barstool. I wouldn't call it drama, but what was that moment like for you? Your first on the Yak live, and all of a sudden people are blowing up, talking about your tweet that got 0 engagement.
Hey, first of all, it got some engagement. I got back Friday night from the New York office, and I was looking forward to the Derby. It's always a great time every year, so I get my fit ready. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling confident. Let's post a pic. Let's see what everyone else is wearing. I drop it. Like you said, I might've got 9 likes. Pretty typical for me. I'll take that. It's a good win for me. And so I'm going about my day. Didn't think anything of it. No one replied, but I forgot all about the tweet until, obviously today. And I'm shopping, getting some groceries, typical Sunday. And Festooli actually texted me, and he's like, yo, you're getting shouted out by Big Cat right now. I take it more as a shout out, by the way. I don't think he was roasting me. He said he liked the fit.
Okay.
Like the fit. And so I'm like, what is going on? So I didn't think anything of it. I just put my phone away. And then I open it back up. Big Cat's following me. I have 100 mentions. Shout out to everyone that posted a fit pic. I mean, you made me feel loved. Had some good ones in there, but I don't know. It was all too much.
That's a good response. No, this is. I wanted to get a read on how you handle stuff like this. So that was a good response. You handled it well. Was that? I don't know. It sort of feels like that statement might have been just as prepared as Bob Huggins' statement that he put out, but I still I like the positivity. I like the positivity. That's a good spin. That it was more of a shout out and less of a call out. So
everyone said they liked the fit. I went to the store for some groceries and I left with some friends. So that's how I took it.
All right, we'll keep firing off those tweets, dude. Don't let the haters get you down, man. And all
somebody show some love, on those tweets, so I don't feel so alone.
Plug your handle so people can follow you.
My Twitter is @CodyOfficial. The K for Cody, and then 0 for official.
There we go.
All the good ones were taken.
All right, well, that's
what
Cody.
What is Captain Ferdinand?
Yeah, so that's just everyone. Honestly, everyone called me that before I came to Barstool. That's what everyone calls me. Captain, Ferd, Cap. Literally no one calls me Cody. So
obvious follow up. Why?
So I used to be, and TJ might appreciate this, I used to be kind of big into Call of Duty. So one night I was preparing for a tournament back in the day in college, like freshman year or something. And I was just going off on this kid on my team. I'm like, you're not the fucking captain. I'm the captain. I call the shots, just going off on him. He's just doing all the wrong things. Like, I'm trying to be a leader. I'm trying to win games. And all my boys, you know, long night out, they're all in the living room. And I walk out and they're like, captain, huh? And they're, you know, they're pretty slosh, long night out. They're like, back in the 1800s, you might have been like Captain Ferdinand. And that, I don't know. That's just what it was. And ever since then, I've been Captain Ferdinand, Cap, Ferd.
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 So you can call me Cody.
Well,
but
all right. Well, we might play with that. I don't know. Cap.
it'll play.
Like
Cap.
5% of
I might just call him
Barstool
Cap.
employees go by their actual first name, so Ferd might work.
I was gonna say, like, when I started at Barstool and I just like introduced myself as Mark, and I was like, I just want to be like, and they were asking me like, what do you want the name of your show to be? And I was like, I don't really want anything. I'm not like, you know, I don't have like a persona. I'm just like I'm just a guy named Mark. Everyone looked at me like I had 3 heads. So Cody, I don't know if Cody's the play. Maybe it's Cap. Maybe we just call you Cap. Maybe we, I don't know. It'll work itself out. But I'm glad you handled the big cat thing well, because when he did that, like, I took it as like I felt like I had to step up as you know, as the guy who has the name on the show, and he's like, who's Titus's editor? And I was like, whoa, don't be coming to my editor like this.
That's my guy, good leader.
If you're taking it well, then I'll take it well, and away we go. So you're the man, Cody. Thank you for chiming in. I promised I would take you to a Cubs game too, by the way.
Oh, so I'm locked in.
When we get to Chicago, let's go to Wrigley. Tired of being soft when you should be hard? 40% of men suffer from hormonal imbalances and low testosterone, and no one's willing to talk about it. The average male testosterone level has decreased by 26% over the past 3 decades. The situation is that you have a bunch of guys that are depressed. They don't have energy. They can't focus. They're gaining weight faster. Their libido is gone. Elevated by Astroflav is an all-natural testosterone booster containing 2 powerful ingredients, Fedosia agrestis and Tonkat Ali. This combination, Elevated, has shown results of 250-point increase in total testosterone, but can be anywhere between 200 to 400-point increase. Increased testosterone levels means increases in energy, improvements in libido, reduction in stress levels, while building muscle and burning fat. Elevated by Astroflav has over 500,000 bottles sold to men with amazing results. Get a free 2-week trial of Elevated available at astroflav.com/barstool. Just pay shipping. All right. Do we have any other shout-outs? Anybody?
I just wanted to mention Gary Payton. I don't know if you saw this. In the first quarter of the game tonight, he threw up in his mouth and held the throw up in and didn't let it get on the court.
I missed that.
He literally, if you go search Gary Payton on Twitter, he literally, you could see it, the puke hit the back of his teeth, and he's like calling the defender off of him, and he's holding it in his mouth, and when the ball goes down the other way, he walks off the court in the middle of the play.
Oh, is that when Draymond then threw it to the bench?
It might no I don't know, but
there was a moment when Draymond like thought there was where Gary Payton had disappeared. That was it. Oh my god.
He very clearly had a mouth full of something and just walked into the tunnel.
What the fuck?
Yeah, so I guess shout out to what? Maybe shout out to him. That might have been a huge vibe swing if he just puked all over the Lakers court. He's like, I don't respect you guys. I don't respect this building, Crypto.com arena.
Just puked all over Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
Front row.
And Kim Kardashian.
Kim Kardashian just puke all over.
Jordan Poole, your baddies claim is gone, by the way, buddy. Kim Kardashian's in the front row. He scored like 8 points. It's over.
Jordan Poole needs he needs to go on a retreat. He needs to go on the darkness retreat, the Aaron Rodgers darkness retreat.
Baddie-less retreat.
The baddie-less retreat. I wanted to shout out Hunter Dickinson committing to Kansas. Congrats, or I'm sorry, or whatever. I don't know. Whatever we're supposed to say about that. I guess, you know, like, it happened. Cool. Yeah, you know, could have come on this show. You know,
Mark, they're going to be so good.
They're going to be so good. Yeah.
They're going to get that Mbako kid too, by the way.
I think they might.
They're going to be so good.
But here's the thing, TJ. If the expectations get so high, you literally cannot succeed. You can only fail. Like, you get it to a point where it's Zion's Duke, 2019 team. It's Kentucky in 2015. It's like no matter what you do, you have to win the national championship. And even if you do win the national championship, we'll still find a way to be haters about it.
Right.
Don't you worry about us. We'll find a way. So, one more thing. NHL's rigged, dude. What happened? My Columbus Blue Jackets were supposed to get the #1 pick tonight, and they just some voodoo magic.
Yeah.
Bada bing, bada boom, and they're just like the Blackhawks get the #1 pick. What the hell was that?
I only saw it in spurts. Apparently, like the #1 pick this year is like a generational god type player, so they gave it to an OG team in Chicago.
It's so messed up, dude.
Works out for Chicago for going there. Could be a buzz around the city for.
I think that they said that they sold like $2.5 million worth of season tickets tonight since they got the
Holy
#1
shit.
pick.
So what's our move as guys moving to Chicago? I'm already a Cubs fan, so that's gonna be easy for me. But do you think we should like? I don't think we have to like replace our favorite teams, but do we have to cheer for the Bulls and Blackhawks and Bears? I might cheer for the Bears.
No.
No. All right.
No.
Okay. All right. Well,
The Celtics and Bills fan. No.
Then what I'm saying is fuck it, dude. I'm not gonna cheer for the Blackhawks to get the #1 pick when my beloved Blue Jackets, who I last watched in 2018, I want to say, almost got the #1 pick. Anything else, Cody? You have anything? Anybody you want to shout out?
No. Shout out to the Yak. Shout out to the Stoolies. Show me love.
Yeah, go follow Cody. Shout out to Cody for
I'm a miserable follow. You don't want that.
No, dude, you keep firing off those tweets, dude. I love it. I've been on Twitter so long that I get broken by the Twitter experience every so often, and I just like step away from the app. That it warms my heart to see youngsters just stepping into the batter's box, taking big cuts. Because I'm so washed up, man. I'm not trying to swing at anything. I'm just like waiting for them. You throw a meatball down the plate, I might take a hack at it, but I'm like, dude, I've been swinging for so long. I'm just kind of like over it. So to see a guy come up and just be like pointing for the fences, and he's like, "Fuck it, derby outfit, drop your derby fits, let's go." I love it, dude. I love it. TJ, you made a great hire. We're gonna love Cody. Subscribe, rate, review, like, follow us at Mark Titus Show, all platforms. It makes a big difference and means a lot to us. So please do that. Thank you so much. And we will see you guys Thursday.